I still remember the way that morning light crept to the curtains, soft, golden, and impossibly gentle. The kind of light that makes everything look peaceful, ordinary, untouched by the weight of real life. But that morning was anything but safe. My hand trembled as I lifted my coffee mug from the table. The steam curled upward, delicate and ghost-like. For a brief moment, I focused on the tiny swirl of vapor, because focusing on anything else meant facing what I had just seen. My wife's phone lay on the counter, unlocked, glowing faintly in the quiet kitchen. And on that bright screen, in sharp black and white, was a message that ended 30 years of my life in less than half a minute. I wish last night never ended. You make me feel alive again. He doesn't even look at me anymore. I read it once, twice, a dozen times, until the words blurred together. My name wasn't mentioned, but it didn't have to be. I knew the tone, the rhythm of intimacy, the language that only exists between two people who have already crossed a line that cannot be uncrossed. My wife, Linda, had always been careful. Or maybe I had just been blind. We met when we were 22. I was quiet, steady, trying to build a small construction business with borrowed tools, long nights, and raw hope. She was confident, radiant. The kind of woman who made rooms stop moving when she walked in. She believed in me before I ever did. I used to joke that she was the blueprint for my dreams. 3 decades, 2 children, 1 mortgage, and countless dinners later, I thought we'd made it. But standing there that morning, staring at her phone, I realized I'd been living in a version of our marriage that only existed in my own head. Tom. Her voice came from the hallway. I dropped the phone like it burned. My heart pounded so hard I could feel in my ears. She stepped into the kitchen wearing her robe, her hair damp from the shower, a practiced smile on her face as she reached for the coffee pot. "Morning," she said softly. "You're up early." I swallowed hard. My mouth was dry as sand. "Yeah, couldn't sleep." "Everything okay?" Such an ordinary question, but it felt like a test. I looked at her, really looked. The same face I'd kissed every morning for years. The same eyes that used to light up when I walked in from work. But now all I saw was a stranger wearing the skin of the woman I once loved. "Yeah," I said, "everything's fine." And in a way, I meant it. Everything was finally, painfully clear. I didn't confront her that day. I went through the motions instead. We had dinner, roast chicken, her favorite. She laughed at something on TV, asked about our son's new job, kissed me goodnight as though nothing had changed. But everything had. All night, I replayed that message in my head, word by word, like a curse I couldn't escape. Every smile looked like a lie. Every word she spoke felt rehearsed. I lay there staring at the ceiling, wondering how many nights she'd come home from him and slipped under the sheets beside me, smelling faintly of perfume that wasn't hers. I didn't sleep. I just counted the cracks above me until dawn leaked through the blinds. The next morning, while she showered, I went to her phone again. This time, I didn't hesitate. I scrolled, and what I found wasn't one careless text. It was months of them. Little details, secret meetings, a conference that never existed, a hotel near the lake, words I can't unsee, images that hollowed me out from the inside. When she came out of the bathroom, humming, her hair wrapped in a towel, I couldn't even look at her. Something in me had snapped, not loudly, but completely. It's strange. What crosses your mind when your world collapses? I didn't think about revenge or the man she betrayed me with. I thought about her, about the mornings we'd spent drinking coffee before the kids woke up, the nights she'd fallen asleep on my shoulder during movies, the times I'd held her hand through funerals, storms, and everything in between. 30 years, built on laughter, promises, and quiet routine. And she threw it all away. For what? For a thrill that made her feel alive. By the time she came downstairs, my decision was already made. The house was still, the morning air thick with silence. A small suitcase sat by the door, just enough for what mattered. She froze when she saw it. "Tom, what's going on?" I turned to her. For the first time in days, I wasn't shaking. I wasn't even angry, just tired. The kind of tired that sinks into your bones and makes you feel hollow. "I saw your messages. I said. The color drained from her face. Tom, I can explain. There's nothing to explain. My voice surprised me, calm, detached. You made your choice. Please, just listen. I listened for 30 years. I cut in. Now it's your turn. She went still. You want to feel alive? I said quietly. Then feel this. The moment your husband stops loving you. Her lip trembled. Tears welled up in her eyes. But I didn't wait to see them fall. I picked up the suitcase, opened the door, and stepped outside. It took me exactly 30 seconds to walk away from 30 years. I drove for hours, past familiar streets and faceless towns, just moving. Every mile between us felt like air after drowning. But the pain stayed. Sharp, relentless, gnawing at every corner of me. I ended up by the lake. The same one where we used to take the kids fishing. The same one she'd use in her lies. I sat there until the sun sank, its reflection breaking on the water like shattered glass. I wanted to scream, to cry, to understand why. The days that followed blurred together. My daughter called, her voice small and confused. Dad, Mom said you left. What happened? It's complicated. I told her. I couldn't bring myself to poison her image of her mother. Not yet. Linda called too, dozens of times. Then texts, emails, each one more desperate than the last. I made a mistake. Please come home. We can fix this. But you can't rebuild something that's already turned to ash. Weeks passed. I stayed with my brother for a while. Tried to throw myself into work, but my mind drifted back to her again and again. Because how do you erase 30 years of habit? You don't. You just learn to live around the hole. One night, she showed up at my brother's house. I heard her voice through the door before I saw her face. Tom, please, she said, trembling. I ended it. I swear it's over. I opened the door just enough to see her. She looked smaller, fragile, lost. I don't care if it's over, I said softly. You killed something that doesn't come back. She reached for me, but I stepped back. Don't, I said. Please don't. Then came her tears, real, shaking sobs that once would have broken me. But now, they just sounded like echoes in an empty room. I love you, she whispered. I closed the door. Then you should have acted like it. It's been a year now. I've been rebuilding, piece by piece. Slowly, painfully. I bought a small cabin near a lake. Not that lake, a different one. Cleaner, quieter. Sometimes I still catch myself setting 2 plates at dinner. Old habits die hard. People say time heals everything. I don't think that's true. Time doesn't heal. It teaches you how to live with a scar. But I've learned something else too. Peace doesn't come from forgetting what happened. It comes from accepting that it did. The last time I saw Linda was at our son's wedding. She looked older, not in years, but in the kind of way guilt ages a person. When our eyes met across the room, she smiled, small and uncertain. I nodded. That was all. No bitterness. No anger. Just distance. During the father of the groom dance, I caught her wiping a tear from her cheek. Maybe it was pride. Maybe regret. Maybe both. But I didn't feel hollow anymore. Just lighter. People ask me sometimes if I'd ever take her back. The answer is no. Not because I hate her, but because I finally love myself enough not to. Betrayal doesn't just end love. It changes it, warps it into something unrecognizable. And once you've seen the truth behind someone's smile, you can never unsee it. That morning, the one that began with coffee and ended with me walking out, used to haunt me. Now it defines me. 30 years of marriage ended in 30 seconds. And for the first time in my life, those 30 seconds finally belonged entirely to me.